I'm Kacey Jackson from the Bucklin FFA chapter, and the title of my speech is, Where Would We Be Without Pollinators? Albert Einstein once said, if the bee disappeared off the surface of the globe, then man would have only 4 years of life left. No more bees, no more pollination, no more plants, no more animals, no more man. This is a very sobering thought, especially in this time of natural disasters, climate change, and everything else Mother Nature is throwing at us. Einstein's quote, however, poses a very crucial question. Where would we be without pollinators? Bees serve an important role in pollination of many plants that we depend on for our food sources. Many people take bees for granted, which is sad and very concerning because they actually do a lot for us. Bees are critical in the pollination process to ensure that we have the plants we depend on for our food, fiber products, fuel, and many other products. Bees play a critical role in pollination in the reproductive cycle of plants. Pollination is the transfer of pollen to a stigma, ovule, flower, or plant to allow fertilization. And successful pollination allows plants to produce seeds. Obviously, seeds are planted to produce new plants. Plants depend on water, wind, animals, and insects to transfer pollen from one flower to another. Pollinators are required for reproduction for over 80% of the world's flowering plants to reproduce. Bees are the most important insect pollinators. They visit flowers in search of food, mates, shelter, and nest-building materials, picking up and spreading pollen along their way. Plants produce beautiful flowers in different colors and shapes that emit unique scents to attract pollinators. Mammals, birds, and insects, such as flies, moths, butterflies, beetles, and bees serve as pollinators. Bees are unique, however, because they gather pollen purposefully to stock their hives to produce food. This purposeful gathering of pollen makes bees very efficient pollinators. In fact, the most important pollinators of all. In the United States alone, there are more than 4,000 species of native bees. Some of the most familiar ones are honeybees, bumblebees, sweat bees, and carpenter bees. Bees pollinate 70% of the crops that feed percent of the population of the world. According to the United Nations, the world population is expected to reach 9.8 billion by 2050. This is an increase of 2.2 billion people, and according to the American Farm Bureau, this will mean 70% more food will have to be produced to meet the world's needs. Currently, honeybees alone pollinate $30 billion of crops annually. Common food crops that depend on this pollination are many types of fruits, such as apples, blueberries, cherries, citrus fruits, peaches and melons, and vegetables such as broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, cucumbers, peppers, and squash. Herbs and spices such as basil, cinnamon, garlic, and mustard, and nuts such as almonds, cashews, coconuts, and coffee. National Geographic estimates 1 in every 3 bites consists of food that has been pollinated by bees. These bites make up a significant part of our human diets, both in volume and diversity. Humans are not the only being that depend on plants pollinated by bees. Livestock depend on plants like soybeans, buckwheat, and alfalfa for food, which are also pollinated by bees for their food. Meat produced from this livestock serves as additional food for humans. In addition to food crops, bees pollinate fiber crops such as cotton. $100 billion in annual revenue is produced by cotton in the United States. As you can see, bees are crucial for the pollination of crops used for human and livestock feed and for fiber production. So let's imagine if there were no bees. Many plants would not get pollinated, therefore causing them to be unable to reproduce. That would mean they could not sustain themselves and would lose those plants as a food source. This would go beyond the simple loss of plants. Food webs would be thrown out of whack and an entire species would become extinct. In turn, human nutrition would suffer without that availability of food. There would not be such a wide variety of food available to choose from and to provide vital vitamins and minerals for the human body. Such as loss of food sources would strain the food supply and would likely limit the global population. Albert Einstein's claim that we would not live more than 4 years without bees may be slightly dramatic. However, many plant species would struggle to survive without bees as pollinators. In turn, many humans might struggle to be healthy and survive without this availability of food sources. In a time where the focus of agriculture should be on how to produce more food products, we cannot afford to lose the vital role that bees play in the pollination of important agricultural crops that provide food for a growing world population. We would be in a dire situation without pollinators. Bees underline the reality that we are more, not less, dependent on nature and survive in a world of close to 7 billion people. Thank you.
All right. Nice job, Kacey. You have 3 questions. The first question is, which agricultural products are influenced by pollination?
Um, the most important products that are influenced by pollination are honey, cotton, and carrots, cauliflower, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and crops.
Great. What do you think are the greatest threats to pollinators?
The greatest threats to pollinators are climate change, natural disasters, anything that can harm their home.
Great. And last question, what are examples of practices farmers could use to increase pollinator numbers?
Increases of practices could be helping out with the bees, so not destroying their habitats and making it easier for them to pollinate.
Thank you very much, Kacey. I will contact your advisor if for any reason that it doesn't record, but hopefully